Yo, Arcane is amazing. With all the changes they've made in the alpha and the beta cycle on this class, on the spec, it's honestly the best it's been in 4+ years. Not since Hellfire Citadel has the spec been this good. And not just like numbers or tuning wise, like I don't even really care about that. They'll tune it, hopefully, to where it's fine. But just gameplay wise and the mechanics of the spec, it's so good. They've done so much to it, and I want to talk you through it and just show you what they've done. Start out, we'll just go through, we'll start out with the Unpruning. What spells did they bring back with the Unpruning? If we go through a thing, number one, Frostbolt, you get that back. I don't even have it bound. It doesn't do a lot. It's a 2-second cast, does no damage, but it does a slow, and it gives you something to cast if you get locked out on Arcane. So, that's really nice. Fire Blast is also coming back. This is actually very good. I press this all the time. It doesn't do that much damage. You probably won't be pressing it like single target on a boss or in a dungeon or anything. But for questing out in the world, doing world quests, or leveling up in the new expansion, this thing's insane. Just having that one extra little instant cast to do that last little bit of damage to finish off a mob is insane. The amount of times I've like had full arcane or 4 arcane charges. I've been bursting a mob, blast, blast, blast. It looks like it's about to die. I dump all my charges with Arcane Barrage to finish it off, and it lives with like 1% HP. I don't have to go and cast a fucking 2-second Arcane Blast. I don't have to channel Arcane Missiles. I don't have to run in an Arcane Explosion to kill it. I can just Fire Blast, the mob's dead. It's really cool. This is awesome. Frostbolt is cool to have, but you'll probably rarely ever use it. Fire Blast, I think you can find some uses for it. Something else, Mirror Image. It's no longer a talent. This is now a baseline thing. 2-minute cooldown, summons 3 copies. They cast Frostbolts, so they slow your targets when they do it. But this isn't the same it was in BFA with a talent. This is not an offensive cooldown. This is a defensive cooldown. This thing does basically no damage. Like, if I get into combat with this thing and I pop it, let's see how much these things do. Okay, they do 20 damage each. One Fire Blast, which is probably my weakest spell, does 1,000 damage. So these things do not do damage. What they do is, obviously, just like old Mirror Image, they dump aggro. So if you've got aggro on something, you can pop these and it'll run around killing these. Also, to make it more of a defensive cooldown, what they've done is when you activate images, when your images are active, damage taken is reduced by 20%. Taking direct damage will cause one of your images to dissipate. So what this means is, while all these guys are up, this is a defensive cooldown. If a big raid AoE damage is coming in from the boss, I can pop this and I take 20% less damage. When I take that damage, one of my images will disappear. If I take another source of damage, another image will disappear, and if I take a third source of damage, the third image will disappear. But as long as I have at least one image up, I have 20% DR, which is really powerful. That's really awesome. Another defensive tool we got back is the good old Alter Time. It's just a defensive button. Doesn't do anything offensively. Alters the fabric of time, returning you to your current location and health when you cast it a second time, or after 10 seconds, effect negated by long distance or death. It's a 1-minute cooldown. You press it, it snapshots your health and your location. I think that's it. It just snapshots your health and location. So if I'm at 100% health and I press it, and I'm standing right here, I can run around all this, whatever. And if I take 50% of my health and damage, I pop it again. It'll teleport me back over here. 100%. I can actually show it to you here, because these are tank dummies, once it comes back off cooldown. Okay, it's off cooldown here. So I'm back here. I pop it. I'm at 100% health, and I'm back there. If I come and attack this guy, he's going to melee me. I'm at 50%. Oh, alter time. I'm back here, and I'm back at 100% health. Very powerful cooldown. Very powerful. And to only have it on a 1-minute CD, it's actually insane. Very powerful defensive cooldowns between alter time, mirror image, and ice block. Very tanky. And of course, because you're a Arcane Mage, you have greater invis, which means you take 60% less damage while invis and 3 seconds after leaving invis. So you're a very tanky class. You have lots of defensive options. Very cool. Another little thing, this actually seems kind of memey, but it's actually really cool, is Conjure Manage Him. Just like Classic. You can conjure or manage him. You can do this in combat. You can do this out of combat, whatever. Costs 9,000 mana. And then you get a gem. Goes into your bag just like a healthstone. Restores 10% mana and has 3 charges. So I can nuke into this guy. I'm just burning, 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 and if I burn too much mana, more than I need, I can just pop a gem. I think it's a 1 minute cooldown, 2 minute cooldown in between gem uses. You get 10% of your mana back. It's great. Really cool. Gives you a way to recover if you accidentally burn too much mana, or if you need to burn some extra mana. Say an ad spawns and that ad needs to die real quick. You can just dump some more mana into it and pop a gem after it, and you're back where you're fine. Really cool. Touch of the Magi. It is no longer a talent on the 45 tier. It has been made a baseline spell. It's kind of the focal point of the Arcane gameplay now. Aside from your Arcane power burst window, you now have a 45 second win. Every 45 seconds you get a window. It functions the same as it did BFA, except you cast it and it's on a cooldown. But it puts a debuff on the target. It accumulates 25% of the damage you deal to the target while it's on there, and then once it runs out, it explodes for that amount of damage. It also generates 4 arcane charges. They have removed charged up and baked it into this to help fight the GCD problem. So this is going to be how you start your burst. Touch the Magi, instantly 4 charges. It's got the debuff on the target, and you just pump into it. Really cool, really awesome. Really kind of spices up the gameplay, which is what Arcane needed. It was just blast. Outside of Arcane power, even in Arcane power, the spec was just Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast. Oh, it's time for CDs? Okay, we'll pop CDs, and then we'll press Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast. So now this is awesome. Every 45 seconds, you get to play around this. A nice little mini burst window. You can line it up with your Arcane power. You can line it up with your Rune of power. Really awesome, really cool. And the last little unpruning thing, I guess, is clear casting. Now, as you could probably see in my earlier clips, stacks to 3 times. In BFA, it only stacks once. Now it stacks 3 times. Let's see if I can get some. Works the same as before. You spend mana, you have a chance to get clear casting. But there, you see I have clear casting. But if we keep going, please give me another one. Pop my gem here to try and... Come on. Okay, there we go. See, now we have 2 classes of clear casting. And you can see, these are my own weak ores. These are just basically copy-pasted weak ores from back in Hellfire Citadel. But I've put them over top the Blizzard weak aura. The Blizzard weak aura, the default Blizzard one that says you have clear casting, is the same as BFA. It just shows that you have it, but it doesn't show how many stacks you have like the old weak aura does. So I'm hoping they put that back, but I made my own weak auras. As you can, let's see here, yeah. See these? Clear casting stacks. But it stacks up to 3 times. Really cool. You can save them up for big Touch of the Magi burst if you're using amplification or something. Really awesome. With split stream, it'll give you be able to store up lots of movement for heavy movements phase of a boss or anything. So it's awesome. That's the unpruning stuff. Really cool changes. Awesome. Really makes the class that much funner just on this alone. But this isn't it. We're also getting some level up stuff. As you level up in the Shadowlands, you will get upgrades to your spells. I'm level 60 right now, so I already have them all, but I'll tell you what they are. I don't know what order they come in. Forgive me, but I'm just going to go in this order. Once you hit 60, you'll have them all. So Arcane Barrage. For Arcane Barrage, for each Arcane charge you have when you dump it, it deals 34% additional damage, grants you 2% of your maximum mana, and hits 1 additional nearby target for 40% of its damage. So that's really cool. It makes a little bit more forgiving on the mana. It lets you burn mana when you need to, which has always been my thing with Arcane. I hate when they do things like Enlightened or the Equipoise. I'll go over Enlightened later, but the Equipoise trait from BFA where it's like above 70% you do more damage. Like, I don't... Just let me burn my mana when I want to burn my mana. And if an ad spawns and I need to kill it, let me burn some mana. Why do I have to stay above the 70% threshold or whatever? But that makes it a little bit more lenient on you. Makes the AoE rotation a bit more mana neutral. It's still not mana neutral, but you can go for much longer. In BFA you run out of mana really quick if you're AoEing. But now with the increased mana regen from the barrage, makes it a lot more mana neutral. So that's awesome. Another level up skill you're going to get is Presence of Mind now has 3 charges and now causes your next 3 Arcane Blasts. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nothing fancy. 1, 2, 3. You can line it up with Touch of the Magi and Rune of Power. Line it up with your Arcane window. It's still a 1 minute cooldown. So you can use one outside of your Arcane Power. Arcane Power has been changed down to 2 minutes from it was 1.5 minutes in BFA. In the beta, they jumped it up to 3 minutes, and then they took it back down to 2 minutes. So it's a 2 minute cooldown now, same as Combustion. Presence of Mind still a 1 minute cooldown, so you can use one outside of your Arcane Power, and then you save the other one for Arcane Power burn, obviously. And the last level up bonus is actually 2 Arcane Power. It 5 more seconds on it, so instead of lasting 10 seconds, it now lasts 15. Pretty straightforward, not pretty cool. Rune of Power lasts 15 seconds as well. It's been buffed to 15 seconds, so those two last the exact same amount of time. Awesome. Just one more little miscellaneous thing, I guess. Your mastery's been changed just a little bit. It's been buffed. It does the same thing as on live. Increase mana regeneration rate, arcane charges, increase the damage of your blast and barrage. But also, just to help you scale a little bit better and make mastery not quite so bad, increases all other arcane damage by 14%. So, just a little bit of buff to mastery, make it a little more important. The math guys will tell us what stats we take, so that's that. Then we want to go into talents. There has been not a crazy amount of talent changes, but some really significant ones. Your 15 tier is the same. Your 25 tier, they removed the Mana Shield talent. Now you have Master of Time, reduce the cooldown of Alter Time by 30 seconds. It's already a 1 minute cooldown, so that makes it a 30-second cooldown. That's really insane. If there's constant AoE burst or something from a raid boss, or you need lots of like tricky movement in an arena, this might be the talent. Of course, you lose Shimmer, so it's whatever. But also, Alter Time resets the cooldown of Blink when you return to your original location. So that's really cool. So I can, I lose Shimmer, but I can Alter Time, blink away if somebody follows me over here. Alter Time back. If a Demon Hunter chases me over there, Alter Time back. He chases me back. I'll blink again. So you have 2 blinks, kind of. It's on a 30-second cooldown. This could be a really cool talent. I think Shimmer's still the go-to, but Slipstream and Master of Time actually have a pretty decent spot. They might be, in certain situations, they're probably going to overtake Shimmer. So that's cool. A little bit of balance on this row is nice, because before you would never take Shimmer. I guess you would take Slipstream a little bit, but the Mana Shield you never used, unless you were cheesing PvPs. The 30 tier, Enchantress Flow is the same. Because they removed Mirror Image, they put in this new talent, Focus Magic. You put a thing on a target. When they crit, you get more spell power, I think it is. When the target critically hits, your chance to critically hit with spells is increased by 5%. Okay, so it's just a buff. You can put it on one other target. They get 5% more crit, and when they crit, you get 5% crit for 10 seconds. It's whatever. I don't like it. I think it's going to be... If this is good, I don't think it's going to be the best. I think it'll still go Rune of Power. But if this is ever good, then it's going to be a pain in the ass, because like your Warlock's going to be like, hey man, can I get that? And then the other mage is going to be in the group like, nah man, let me get it. And then maybe like your Warriors, because with spells by 5%, so it's probably not going to go on the Warrior, but... Or maybe like a Disc Priest is like, man, I need it for throughput, so... I don't like it, but I think Rune is just going to be so good that you won't take it anyway, so I'm okay with it. Rune of Power has seen some reworks. In order to fight the GCD change, which... in my last video, I talked about the Arcane Mage. There was probably 6 or so GCDs you had to go through before you can start doing damage. So in order to combat that, they've done quite a few things. We talked about the Touch of the Magi and the Charged Up being baked in together. Rune of Power, now, it's the same Rune of Power as before. You only have one charge that you can drop whenever you want, 45-second cooldown. It's the same thing. You stand in it, it gives you more damage. But also... Casting Arcane Power will also create a Rune of Power at your location. So what this means is, you just pop Arcane Power, it insta-drops a rune for you. It's so good. It's actually insane. It makes the setup so much easier. And you still have your other rune to play with whenever you want for a 45-second cooldown to go with a Magi and a Presence of Mind outside of your burst window. It's really cool. Really awesome. Also, since we're touching on this, we're here and we're talking about the GCD thing, they have taken Arcane Power off the GCD. So, the probably up there, either Arcane Mage or Unholy DK, before all these GCD changes, were the most egregious when it came to the GCD. Arcane literally took 6 or 7 GCDs to set up. It now takes 1. Because Arcane Power isn't on the GCD, you can just press it. It takes your Touch of the Magi, you press Arcane Power, and you're off. That's it. The setup went from like 10 plus seconds to literally 1 second. Actually insane. So good. Specs feels so much better. Really, really cool. The 35 row. This is where we start seeing some significant changes. Resonance is Resonance, the same it's always been, but there's a new talent here because they removed Charged Up to make it into Touch of the Magi. Arcane Echo. Direct damage you deal to enemies affected by Touch of the Magi causes an explosion that deals 155 arcane damage to 8 nearby enemies. If you played Arcane back in Hellfire Citadel, this is extremely reminiscent of the Mark of Doom trinket. What was it called? Prophecy of Fear. The debuff that it put on the target was called Prophecy of Fear, or Mark of Doom, but the trinket was called Prophecy of Fear. The way that worked is, occasionally it worked like Touch of the Magi, just randomly the trinket would put a debuff on the target, and when the debuff was on the target, every time you hit the target, it would explode and do damage to itself and things around it. So, this now puts that into Touch. It's not as strong as that, but it's the same kind of gameplay. And Arcane Missiles hits multiple times per cast. So what you would do is, you put up Touch of the Magi, and you dump missiles into it, and you see this little explosion around his feet. Every time a missile hits, that explosion happens. And if you pair that with amplification while you have clear casting, Arcane Missiles fires 2 additional missiles. This starts to get not only really fun, really crazy in like 8 target cleave, I guess. In single target, it's really good as well. But when there's like one, like in BFA right now, with Fire Mage in Mythic Plus, if there's one big mob and a bunch of little mobs around it, you can bust that big mob and the Ignite spreads. It's similar here. You would want to go into the pack with 3 clear castings, obviously. Let's see if I can get this going, because this is really cool. Okay, we got 3 clear castings. You would go into the pack, dump your barrage, because we're going to get free. Set up the Touch the Magi. Look at all this arcane explosion at this guy. Actually insane. Dump it at the end, then the thing explodes, 7k damage. Really, really cool. That's an amazing little moment of gameplay if you set it up right. Super cool, love it. When Halinka, who's the new like class guy, combat designer or whatever, tweeted out asking what things we would want back for our classes. Prophecy of Fear and the Mark of Doom trinket, or the Mark of Doom, Prophecy of Fear trinket, was the first thing I thought of when it came to Arcane Mage, and they've added it back in a way. It's super cool, super awesome. Also, Supernova and Nether Tempest have swapped places. No changes to them. They're the same spells as in live, but they swapped changes. They made this tier a bit of an AoE cleave tier, and then this tier another AoE cleave tier. So, pretty cool. Nether Tempest is good. Nether Tempest, Resonance, Resonance. But this new talent is really, really fun. I really like this. I hope this is the go-to talent. This is super fun to play with. Your 40 tier, exact same. Chrono Shift, Ice Ward, Ring of Frost. Nothing wrong with that tier. No reason to change it. The 45 tier. Couple changes here. Obviously, Nether Tempest and Supernova swap places. Touch of the Magi was made baseline, so they had to remove that. What they put in place of Touch of the Magi was this Enlighten talent. We'll cover it in later. We'll cover it when we get to the 50 tier. But it was here where Arcane Orb is now, because that's where Touch of the Magi was. And so what that did was it gave you an AoE choice with a knock-up, and a 8% damage amp. Increased by 8%, and an 8% damage amp. So why would you ever take these when you've got an 8% damage amp right there pretty much all the time? So that was really weird. And in the last couple builds, I guess like maybe a couple weeks back, they swapped Arcane Orb and Enlightened. So now you have this another AoE tier, and being able to take Arcane Orb along with Overpower or Time Anomaly or something else is really awesome. Just having that extra little button, that extra way to build up a couple charges. It doesn't do much damage. It never really has. It was mainly been meant for dumping charges and then immediately getting back up to 2 or 3 charges. But it's really awesome to have that nice little extra button to press. Really, really cool. And of course you can take Supernova. I'm not sure what'll be the go-to. The math guys will find it out. But being able to have Arcane charge generation, a knock-up if you need it, and then a full-on Arcane Explosion AoE talent. Really, really cool. These two talent trees, these are the main 2 tiers that they changed. Really, really awesome. Really, really good changes. When Blizzard touches talent trees and they actually go into them, they do an amazing job. The problem is they just let these talents rot for years. And then when they actually go in and change them, it's like, oh, you guys do know how to make good talent trees. You just don't touch them. You just let them rot. So this is awesome, really cool. The final tier, overpowered is overpowered. I think it's been nerfed in BFA. Yeah, in BFA it does 60 and 60. Now it does 50 and 50. It's a broken talent. It probably needed nerf. It's probably still going to be the go-to. The math guys will tell us, but we'll find out. Time anomaly is the same. It's been changed. It gives you, instead of giving you arcane charges or charged up as it did before, now it gives you time warp for 6 seconds. So that's really awesome. A bit of a buff to it, because if you're at 4 arcane charges and time anomaly procs and gives you 4 arcane charges, like that was pointless. What was the point of that? So now that can never happen. Every time it procs, you're gonna be happy it procs. It can give you arcane power, it can give evocation, or it can give you time warp. Really cool, really awesome, good change. Will it beat overpowered? Probably not, but we'll see. It's really fun talent. One thing I will say with the time anomaly, let's see if it'll proc here. It uses the same thing above your head as alter times. They're a little bit different, but it's basically the same graphic above your head. So that could be maybe a little bit confusing, but and then finally enlightened. We touched on this earlier. This is basically equipoise. It's a buffed equipoise. The Azurite trait from BFA. Arcane damage dealt while above 70% mana is increased by 8%. Mana regen while below 70% increased by 20%. So these are the type of talents that I was talking about earlier where I hate, where it's like, oh, you have to stay above 70 or you're not doing as much damage. But it is nice that while below 70 it increases your mana regen, so you can get back up to 70 if you accidentally mess up. But that's cool. It's whatever. When it was in this tier, it was really lame because it was obviously the go-to talent, and I hated playing with the 70% crap. But now that's in this tier, I can take time anomaly, I can take overpowered, and it's awesome. So these talents, this talent change and reworks they did, really, really cool, awesome, good. The final little thing, or I guess 2 last things, are the Covenant spells. I'm not going to go through and show you them all. I'm playing Necrolord right now. This is probably going to be the go-to for Arcane. Maybe not for the other specs, but this is really but it's really good for Arcane. Transform you into a powerful skeleton. 3-minute cooldown, so it kind of desyncs with Arcane power. You'll pop this and Arcane power on the pull, and then you'll probably sit on this for a minute until your Arcane power catches back up to it. Transforms you into a skeletal mage. It looks really cool. I'll show you it in a sec. While you're in the form of the skeletal mage, your Frostbolt, Fireball, and Arcane Blast hit up to 2 enemies near your target. So this causes your main spender for whatever spec to cleave to 2 other targets. So you hit 3 targets with your main spender. And your spell damage is increased by 10%, so it's flat 10% spell damage amp as well. So for Fire and Frost, this is like, okay, it's whatever. I hit 2 extra targets with my Fireball. I hit 2 extra targets with my Frostbolt. Like, it's cool, but it's not that big a deal. But Arcane Blast is my hardest hitting spell in my class. Fireball and Frostbolt are probably some of the weakest spells for those specs. But Arcane Blast is the hardest hitting spell, and being able to cleave 2 other targets with it, insane. It already does enough damage when it hits 1 target, and now it's hitting for 2 targets, insane. So this is what it looks like. It's a 1.5 second cast. Transforms you into this guy. Looks really sick. Also, if you pop a mirror image during this, they look like you. Really cool. And then, okay, these guys are far enough apart where it's not cleaving. It's a bit unlucky. But when ads are stacked up on a boss, or if you're in a Mythic Plus pool, being able to cleave extra targets for 2k or whatever, 3k, really, really good. Awesome spell. The other mentions is Radiant Spark from the Kyrian. It's a 45-second cooldown, or a 40-second cooldown, one of the two. It lines up with Touch of the Magi really well, so that's pretty good. It's just another debuff you put on the target, and every time you hit them, they take damage, or they take increased damage, and every time you hit them, that stacks up to 4 times, then it wears off. So that could be really good if you stack it with your Touch of the Magi. Don't know, but that's a bit of a... That's something to consider. Mirrors of Torment, the Venthyr ability, if you're PvPing, that is probably 100% the go-to. In PvE, it's kind of wonky. It doesn't do a lot. There is a conduit with it. Whenever it procs, it can increase your damage, I think, by 10%, and then it like ramps up with whatever level the conduit is. So that could be really insane. The math guys will have to figure it out. But for like just casuals, questing in the world, or doing some Mythic Plus, or maybe a normal heroic raid, it feels really bad to press. It's just like a 1 minute or 40-second cooldown. You put it on the boss, and nothing happens. If they cast a spell, they take some damage. Many mobs don't cast spells, and it ends up doing nothing. In PvP, it's really insane. Every time they cast a spell, it slows them. If they cast 3 spells, it silences them. So that's really strong. The Fae, Night Fae ability is it's really bad. It might be good, but it feels really bad to play with. It's a channel, so you stand still and channel for 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. I'm unsure. You stand still and channel. It does pulsing AoE damage. It's about as big as my Arcane Explosion here, which means you have to blink into melee, stand still, and channel it for it to do its damage. Feels really bad. It does give you cooldown reduction, however. It's not a lot of cooldown reduction. It's going to take maybe 10 seconds off your major cooldown. It's really good for like fire, for fire blast and stuff that has a really short cooldown. It can get in one channel. It can give you back like 1 or 2 charges of fire blast. But for Frost and Arcane, it's not that great. It might take 10 or 20 seconds off Touch of the Magi. It might take 10 seconds off Arcane Power, but it's not a huge deal. And at the sacrifice of blinking into melee and standing still and channeling for 3 seconds, don't think it's worth it. Going over the Conduits, just real quick, they're not that exciting. Consuming clear casting increases. Let's start with this one. This is the one that... This is just for Necrolords. I'm not going to go over the other ones for the other Covenants, because it'd just be a pain in the butt to switch characters and everything. But Deathborn's duration increased by 3 seconds. That could be really good. Deathborn's a really powerful cooldown, so 3 more seconds during it could be good. Consuming clear casting increases the damage of your next 2 arcane blasts by 10%. It's just a damage amp. You're probably not really going to think about it. Arcane missiles reduces the cooldown of arcane power by 0.1 second. Just a little bit of CDR off your power. Could be good. It might, it's going to desync your arcane power with your presence of mind and maybe other cooldowns though, so I don't know about that. Touch of the Magi accumulates an additional 5% damage you deal. That's whatever, 5% more damage. This one has a little bit of a gameplay to it. Your Arcane Barrage is at 10% to grant you 2 arcane charges. So if you're AoEing and you dump, you have a chance to get 2 charges. It's kind of cool. It's whatever. When you're trying to like dump your charges so you can go into Touch of Magic, because Touch of Magic gives you 4 charges, it's kind of weird sometimes that you dump, you get 2 charges immediately, you dump again, you get 2 charges, and you're like, I'm just trying to dump so I can go into Touch of Magi. But it's pretty cool. And I'm not going to go over the actual like key soulbind abilities. They're whatever, and you can look those up on your own. They're not mage specific. So that's all the mage stuff. I'm going to go through a little bit of gameplay here just so you can see it in action. I've just been talking a lot. But it's a really, really cool spec. It's one of probably my favorite mage spec right now to play on the beta. Really, really fun. And I've always liked Arcane, and now that it's like got all these changes, it's actually got a look in. Really, really fun. And it's amazing to me that it went from probably the worst class for the GCD change to possibly like the best. Literally 1 GCD. Okay, so I'm going to start a little opener here, same as if we were pulling a boss, just so you can see what the gameplay looks like. And I probably won't talk that much during it because to talk and play is a little more difficult. But so channel the Fleshcrest. So the pull will start. Precast of Arcane Blast. Go into Deathborn. Set up our Touch of the Magi. Arcane Power instantly drops the thing. It was off the GCD. And we're blasting. We're blasting. Palm to get those last few in. I was a little late on the third one there. To get it in the Touch of the Magi window. And then we're just burning down. Set up a second rune to burn the rest of our mana. Clear casting's about to wear off, so I'm going to dump them. Burning again. I'm going to try and hold on to these clear castings. Evocate back to full. Probably drop combat here. That's just the way of dealing with target enemies. Been unlucky, but... So now we have 3 clear castings. I'm going to dump one. Just to give me something. Barrage. Touch of the Magi. And here's that moment of gameplay I was talking about. Dumping missiles into this. Really cool. Wish I had that other missiles. Wish I hadn't blown it. Use Barrage at the very end to add a little more damage to that. Arcane Orb to get me right back up to 2 charges. And we're back at it again. We've got our rune back and palms about back up. Do I want to save it for Touch of the Magi? No, we'll just do it now. Shouldn't have done that because I had no charges. Oh well. I'm trying to talk and play, and that makes me a little worse, but... And then we'll just palm. That's going to put me behind on Palm a little bit. Unlucky. I'm not playing that well, but here we go. So I burnt a lot of mana. Going to use my mana gem there. Touch of the Magi's up, so we'll dump into that. Got another proc. Big damn. Barrage, or Orb, to get me back up to 2 charges so we can dump again. Power's coming back up. I've desynced all my cooldowns really badly because I'm really good at this game. So we'll wait for Touch of the Magi and Palm, and then we'll do one more little burn. See now, Arcane power's up, and Deathborn still has a minute left, so if I had my cooldowns right, I would have popped Arcane power there, and then I would just sit on Deathborn for a minute, and then line it up with my next Arcane power, I would guess. So we're doing here, everything's fine. We'll dump. Touch of the Magi, Arcane power. I don't know if you missiles during this. Unsure, the math guys will have to figure that out. Palm, 3 Arcane barrages. Dump some more mana. Dump our mana so we can get our Evocate on cooldown. I'm going to save the second rune and try and get these clear castings to go into the Touch of the Magi. If I can get one more... Oh, they're going to fall off. Unlucky. Just being a bit greedy there. I lost 1 charge of Arcane, or clear casting. But that's basically the gameplay. Really, really cool. Way better than just Blast, 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 which is the gameplay we have now in BFA, and kind of the gameplay we had in Legion, so really awesome to have this. It might even be worth, with the Arcane Echo talent, to cast an unclear casted missiles during that, especially if there's mobs around it for the Arcane Echo to clear, to cleave to. The math guys will have to figure that out and tell us for sure, but as far as the way it plays, really, really awesome, really cool. Really love this spec. I'm really looking forward to playing it. I was actually thinking about dumping the mage when the first alpha came out and the changes were made, or they announced the changes they were making. I was like, oh man, this is bad. But they came back in over the course of the alpha, over the course of the beta, made lots of good changes, and now I can't drop this class, dude. This is the best this spec has been in 4+ years, and I'm going to drop it? No way, dude. I want to be in on this. So that was awesome. Thanks for watching. Oh. I guess I should cover Legendaries, huh? I'm just going to go over the 4 Arcane Legendaries. There are some generic Legendaries like this. Casting any barrier spell grants you the effect of Blazing Barrier, Ice Barrier, and Prismatic Barrier. Each absorbed shield has 40% effectiveness, so that's 120% effectiveness of what your shield would be normally, plus the effects of that Ice Barrier and Blazing Barrier give you, the slow and the thorns. So there's that. But I'm just going to go over the Arcane ones to get it done. Arcane Barrage deals... They're kind of boring. The Arcane ones are probably the weakest of the 3 mage specs, so that's why I didn't think about them when I was going over the class, but here they are. Arcanic Cull. Arcane Barrage deals an additional 40% damage against targets below 35% health. There's no gameplay to that. It just gives you a bit more execute damage. It's probably pretty good, but it's like not exciting. Evocation grants you 2 arcane charges. While channeling Evocation, your intellect is increased by 2% every 0.9 seconds, last 30 seconds. This is kind of cool. It's kind of reminiscent of Font of Power, and I'm really sick of pressing Font of Power, so I haven't really played with it that much. But being able to burn all your mana, dump a barrage, and then evocate back up, and then when you get back to full health, you've got a huge intellect buff and 2 arcane charges. I mean, that's really good. It's more interesting than a 40% damage against 35% targets below 35% health. But it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of turned me off of it because I hate using font right now, and it's kind of reminiscent of that. Another one here. This one will actually work. It's slotted into Arcane. You can only make this at the Rune Carver if you're Arcane, but it works in all 3 specs. So it's a bit it's kind of sad that Arcane kind of got dicked out of a Legendary. But while you have Temporal Displacement, which is the debuff you get when you use Heroism, or other similar effects, when you use Heroism, I think you get sated, and then, like, I don't know what the Hunter one is. But while you have that debuff, I can use, I may use Time Warp at a reduced effectiveness, gaining 15% haste for 20 seconds. This is the Time Warp ring from Legion, if you played that. Basically, someone else, you can't, if you're using this legendary, you don't ever want to press hero. So if you're the only heroism in your group, you probably don't want to use this, but you're going to be screaming at your shamans or your other mages that maybe aren't using this legendary, or your hunters, and be like, hero, 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 because you have to save your hero to hero yourself, because you can, cannot benefit from time or prevent similar effects. If I'm using this legendary, I can for my own, for 15%, so at a reduced effectiveness. It's kind of annoying. I don't like it that much. I mean, it's really good, obviously, to be able to have a second heroism, but it's really annoying to have to scream at someone else in your raid group or whatever, pop hero, pop hero, pop hero, and they're looking at you like, you're a mage, dude, why don't you just pop it? It's like, because I can't. I have to save mine. So that was always really frustrating in Legion. If that's the go-to, then that's where we'll be again, but we'll see. Finally, this one is the one I kind of like a lot. I like it because I've been playing a lot of this amplification Arcane Echo build, and what it does is increase the damage of your arcane missiles by 10%. So I'm playing a bit more of a missiles build, so obviously I want to play this. And each time arcane missile hits the enemy, the damage of your next barrage is increased by 2%. 2%. This effect stacks. So right up here is the debuff or the buff. Is this only clear casting? Each time an arcane missile hits an enemy, the damage of your next arcane barrage is increased by 2%. Damage of your next arcane barrage. This stacks. Does this only work on clear casting? I didn't know that. Let's see if I can get a clear casting. Okay. No, it's just not working. Maybe it's because maybe it's not working at this guy? But I just had it, so it was working. I don't know. Oh, I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it, guys. Don't comment in the don't put anything in the comments, okay? I'm not wearing it. That's why it's not working. Okay, now it works. Interesting how you have to be wearing it for it to work. What a game, dude. But yeah, this stacks up, and it stacks up really high. I'm unsure of the actual max stacks. I guess we can find that out now. Stacks up really high. And it's each time your arcane missiles hits. So when you're using amplification with your clear casting, you fire more missiles, it's going to stack more. Really, really cool. Really strong when you're playing this kind of build. We're just seeing how high it stacks here. Because I actually don't know. 100, it thinks. Yep, it stacks to 100. 200% increased damage on this barrage. Let's see how big this... Let's get the max charges. How hard does this thing hit? 7k? Not bad. Yeah, max 7.7k. Pretty good. Pretty good. So, those are the legendaries. None of them are too exciting. This one's kind of cool. I like using it because I like playing the Arcane Missiles build. Of course, the math guys will tell us if it's a rule of threes or amplification or Nether Tempest or whatever. But that's basically my video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're excited about Arcane Mage because I fucking am. I'm so hyped to play this, actually. I've been playing it in some Mythic Plus. Did a little bit of Arena. Really, really, really good stuff. So until next time, guys.